Greetings. Today I'll be showing you the magic of Scholar's Mate. So, you're going to start the game off like a normal king's pawn. Standard position for king's pawn. But instead of developing your knight early, like we saw in my 4 knights opening video, you are going to bring your bishop out. Now be warned, this move is not going to work against any competent player, because a competent player will know how to block it. They will likely put their knight here, anticipating your next move, or some other set of moves that will block your attack. And if they, let's just do the first theory first. If they put their knight here, then you basically have a useless bishop, and if you move your queen out or do any other move on their next move, they're placing their pawn here. The only way you can block this move is if you put your knight on this rank, right here, this spot. So, assuming they are not a competent player, their next move might be to put their knight right here. That's just an example. It doesn't have to happen like that, but it's very good for Scholar's Mate if they do. Then you're going to put your queen here. Now, notice, your queen and your bishop both target this one piece right here, their f-pawn. So, what's extremely important is that they do not block this diagonal or this vertical on their next move. So let's say, for example, they put their bishop here. Now, what you're going to do next is nothing short of a miracle. Checkmate in 4 moves. Absolutely magical. Do you want to know what else is magical? On September 11th, 2001, 2 planes struck the Twin Towers. Hundreds of people were killed in this national tragedy, which sparked a multiple decade-long war in Afghanistan, but before that, a war in Iraq. It was a tragedy for the entire world due to the amount of lives lost due to one terrorist act. Anyways, let's reset the board here and go through a few possibilities. So you're doing Scholar's Mate. They push this pawn. Okay, no biggie. They don't have any way of defending this except their queen, so you can take that pawn. And now you're up a pawn, and they don't really have a way of getting it back. Because if they bring their bishop out, you can just take it. And if they take with their queen, your pawn defends that. So from here, they may want to bring out their knight to fork these 2 pieces. Now, it's not a true fork because they're defending each other. If they take the pawn, you take their knight with your bishop. If they take the bishop, you take with the pawn. That kind of situation. So the important thing here is not to panic or do anything hasty. What I would recommend in this situation is instead of trying to keep Scholar's Mate alive, you bring your knight out. So, theoretically speaking, if they take this pawn, which they'd be stupid to, you take their knight, and on the next move you take their pawn. And if they take your bishop, you take their knight. And now the popular move here would be to push this pawn. But then you may place your knight here on this outpost. And you know what that means. Let's say they move this bishop out. The moment you get rid of this pawn right here, Scholar's Mate is still alive. So, let's say just theoretical game stuff, they're a total fucking moron. And let's say they place their bishop right here, completely undefended. You can just take this. They can short castle. Let's do a better example, because that's never going to happen in any real game. So, let's say they instead move their bishop right here because they don't want a castle. You can then take pawn, They move their knight out like an idiot. Queen here. Move their knight forward. And checkmate. Now, let's reset the position. Go through a few more possibilities. Now, Scholar's Mate is not something I have mastered. It is something I only started playing relatively recently, and I've only been doing it against low elo scrubs. So I am no master Scholar's Mate. In fact, I would not in a million years recommend Scholar's Mate to anyone who is not playing against low elo scrubs. But just for the sake of content, let's run it back. Pawns here. Bishop out. They put their knight here, intending to play the 4 knights, or at least their half of the 4 knights. So do you know what you do next? I'll give you a moment for that. Well, there's a few options. You can bring your knight out, threatening this. Then they have to put their knight here. And then you just play it like a normal 4 knights, but if you were playing black. Or, another option, you can move this pawn up immediately, forcing them to either take this pawn or lose it. And you can take back with the queen, get an early queen out. I'll go more into that later. I want to do this one sequence first. Another thing they may do is bring out this knight to defend this pawn a bit more. And in this situation, you still do the exact thing. Except the only difference is this pawn is still hanging. So you then defend this. Got it? Wonderful. From here, there's actually some good ways you can go about it. Now that you've done this, let's say they bring their bishop out, they pin your knight. You can defend this knight, and then, oh, I don't know, let's say they short castle. Bring your queen. They bring, I don't know, let's just say they move this back. You can castle. So, I don't know where else to go with this. Hell, I'm not even sure if I did that castle right. Because I can never remember if long castle goes right here or right here. But anyways, doesn't matter that much. This video is not about castling, it is about whatchamacallit, Scholar's Mate. So let's see if there's anything else I can think of that we can do in this position. This horrible position you should never play against anyone worth their salt. You bring this out, they bring this, you bring your bishop. Ooh, I got one. Let's say they play the Bong Cloud. Then you just play it like normally, and whoa, they've blocked you. So, what do you do now? You bring your knight. Your intent is to put your knight here to fork the king and the knight. And let's say that they move their pawn here, because I see a lot of people do that. You then put your knight right here. Then they are forced to take with this or move their king. If they take with that, put your bishop here. Then they would have to move their king somewhere to avoid checkmate. Now let's say if instead of taking that knight, let's just say, for example, they move their king back. You take here, this is threat. They take with their queen. Now you can just trade off queens. All right, that is all I have for Scholar's Mate.